welcome back to our podcast, Beyond Veils. My name is Sharon Miranda, and I'm here with my friend
Tomusange.
And today we are going to talk about deconstructing programming. So, Tom.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tomusange, and we're here to talk about programming, deconstructing the conditioning, the programming, and how to not program yourself in that way and program yourself in a way that you want. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's get into this thing. So what do you think programming is?
Yeah, programming, I understand the definition of science, software engineering, programming, but I think today we are talking about the social programming.
Yeah, social programming.
Where we are being conditioned by different groups in the world to do what they want, to fall into their narratives, and ultimately to benefit them. And I think programming, before you program something, you first develop it. So there are various people who have built systems in our society, and they program them. They program us to live into those systems. So it's like as if it's not your thought, your true self, but somebody wants you to think the way they want. And ultimately, we do it sometimes intentionally, knowingly, sometimes unknowingly.
Okay, just to add on that is these are things to do with our thoughts, our beliefs, the way we understand life, and how we have come to perceive things the way we perceive them. So just going back when we begin life, right, from our families, and how we start out. So what is the role of the family and our guardians in a relationship to this programming?
Like you talked about thoughts and feelings, and there are very many things that come into programming. So we are programmed by external systems, but sometimes we also program ourselves. So when you talk about the role of family, we're talking about the external programming, where the source is outside us, but people around us. That is family. Yes, you understand that as you grow as a person, you have influence, and this influence comes from your elders, from your parents. Why? Because you cannot sustain yourself as a child, so you keep wanting something from them, and they keep inspiring you. Because if somebody provides for you food, they buy for you clothes, they take you to school, there is a way you admire them, and whatever they do, sometimes you feel that's the absolute truth. You understand? So the role of a family in programming us is we get inspired by them. So we copy their ways. The other thing is that they instill some values into us. Tell you that before somebody, you need to kneel down as an African or as a Muganda, Tomusange. You need to learn how to cook. You need to learn how to do this. And these are some things that they teach us, but sometimes you also see from them and you learn from them.
Okay, so which means the family has a big role to play in this programming thing, because remember, we come here very fresh, we have no software in us, in our minds, and this all begins with your parents,
and that's why
telling you how to do things and how, whether they are good or bad. You understand?
Yeah, I understand. And you see, this is interesting because family is the basic unit of society. So family is the first team, it's the first company, it's the first nation, it's the first continent, it's the universe at first when you're growing as a child. So it means that we copy from the people around us, we learn from them, and we even learn we learn how to talk from them. Because if people around you speak Luganda, you'll speak Luganda. You understand?
Sure.
So family has a very big role in our lives. And it's the same thing when you see people are trying to search for love. Some of the things they consider, they do background check. They check
family,
your family
from where you come,
because it's of a great influence to your life as you grow as a person. Yeah.
So which means it's the solid foundation of the
So,
programming.
yeah, you need
And
to
then the funny
understand.
thing is, because you're growing up, you're a child, you're young, whatever they tell you to do, you do without anything.
You just do
But
it.
obviously, these people don't mean no harm, because that's the way they're supposed to raise us, and that's the way they were raised. So they are instilling in those earlier values about life, about things, about kindness, compassion, sharing, individual things, such as things like that. Yeah. So I think family is fundamental in this programming thing. So growing up, we are now out of the family. We started school. So education in regards to programming.
Programming. Yeah. There is a part I wanted to bring out, that our actions in society are shaped by what we perceive. That is skipping like very different levels to reach there.
You have
So-
gone really. That's it.
Somebody might not understand it. Yeah, but you understand that when you observe something, we observe through looking, we can smell, we can hear, we can taste, or using our senses to perceive information, to take in. So whatever you perceive, you think about. You think about and make decisions of whether to agree to some information or disagree. Now, this prompts your feelings. You develop a certain feeling. It can be either a mood or an emotion that is short time. And you find that from feeling certain ways, we tend to act a certain way. For example, if I annoyed you right now and you get anger is an emotion. It will prompt action. You either abuse me, you beat me, or you run away. That is action. And from acting consistently, we develop a behavior that sometimes can become a habit. So now I've brought that. Now going back to school, I want you to look at this as a society where you live for a very long time. You live with kids coming from different backgrounds. You might find that some families have night dancers at their places. You understand? You find that some families...
You and your weird examples.
You find that some families have been brought up in a very rude environment. Their father is very rude, and you understand, they're denied a chance to experience smooth life. Probably because of factors like poverty or something. You understand? Now, school exposes you to all that. Now, it comes back to the question of who you make your friend. Because your friends are going to be your immediate consultants. Every time you have a problem, a breakdown, or emotion or something, you will come to that. Secondly, the people who have authority, like prefects, like teachers, and other administrators, yes. You understand that they hold certain power over you. It can be referent power, where you admire them because of their physique, the way they talk, you admire. So they have power over you. When they say something, because you love them, you will do it. There is coercion, whereby somebody forces, it's dominant power. I'm the HM, headmaster. I said this and this. It doesn't matter whether it is wrong or good. You're going to
At
do
that
it.
stage.
Yes, because they hold power over you. So this thing comes back to power. Who influences your thoughts, your behavior, your characters, and everything. And I think school, by now what we feed into our brains, studying. You study history. Do you know that you can study history of Uganda and you feel pissed?
And you feel?
Pissed.
Like it's upsetting?
You
You're annoyed?
You're very annoyed.
Why?
You will study history of Uganda and you realize that Uganda has a potential of becoming like USA.
Okay. So,
But because somebody has been denying that chance of growth, brings this system and that, and then at the end of the day, you feel bad because of what you have taken in. Now, going back to school.
come back to our programming.
Look at the school subjects.
Yeah.
You learn, you see, for me, I thought science is absolute truth.
Okay.
Because things are provable.
Yeah, it's
They're
practical.
experimented. You understand?
It's experimental, yeah.
And I realized later that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I keep saying that the world is more spiritual than scientific. Because I realized later that the things we study are experiences of other people. And they just come from perceptions of people.
Okay.
And then they go through acting they discover certain things in the universe. Universe is very complex. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, for sure it is. And just to add on that, obviously school, like you said, from family, and then you come, especially if you go, for example, you went to board, even if you, no, let's say you went to boarding school, and how you mix up with all those children. But even if you did not, but you still went to school, how you mix up with all those children, and then the authority figures as well, and then the curriculum itself, what you were taught from all these subjects. Because, I mean, we even will have another topic regarding education, because we realize that all these things that most of the things that we've been taught in terms of our subjects, some of it you have not even tempered to use. Since you left school, there are things you studied in school and you left them there. You never even consulted to see whether it's necessary in this daily life. You understand? So it has really played a part in conditioning and programming us to where they want us to go. Like people that have really, when we train in school, we come out of primary, secondary, and then we go to university and everything. Most of the time the training is to make you an employee.
Yeah, that's true.
You understand? All this training for all these years, you come out of their place, you're looking for a job. Because that's what you are prepared to do. All the skills, the experience.
Somebody was telling me, I remember the other time, somebody was telling me that, we waste 20 years trying to learn how to learn.
Trying to learn how to learn.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was very
you need
beautiful.
To
I
deconstruct
thought about
that.
it. I was like, what does he mean? Now, when I went back home, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I now get it. Because you see, by the time you go, like senior 6, high school, you can't create anything. You're just taking in information. You're just knowing how to do some small experiments in chemistry, how to change color. Now to know
little
that this is ammonia, you understand.
But then it's even purpose for academics.
That's why
it's not purpose to say, okay, Tom, after here, you're going to go and start a business. You
understand. And there is a very big gap between school and the industry, the work
employment industry.
There is a very big work, because the time you go to the industry, they tell you you're going to learn.
And then you'll be like, okay, I have spent my high school and another 3-4 years in university, and then here I am applying for a role, and you're telling me I need to learn again. So what have I been doing?
So you've been learning how to learn.
That is so funny, honestly. That's so funny.
And I keep saying this. If it were me to set up the curriculum, because I know it's a narrative, by the way. This curriculum is a narrative for somebody to drive. It's very, I say it's very bad, even if it's where I've studied from.
You've been in the system.
And I've been able to understand the system. But this is how I would do it. I know that mathematics teaches patterns in society. You learn how to be logical about life, making some decisions. That's the equation you see. X plus Y equals to something. Because there is an input, you get something from the world. Whether information, whether something, and then you put into your system, you process it, and you give an output.
You give something to the world.
That's the equation in mathematics. And you understand that mathematics helps you to understand the patterns as they happen in different times, with different inputs and different outputs. That would be a very good subject to teach practically.
Practically, yeah. Because, I mean, we come out of school and we know nothing.
Yes. Secondly, you look at language. Yes, I understand, and I admit that most of the information has been put in foreign language. For the case of Uganda, you understand? I would teach my kids both Luganda and English so well that they understand when they read contexts. Because people have been able to document even our environment using their language. And that's very terrible. You understand? So I would teach them that. Thirdly and lastly, I would teach them IT. Because IT is a tool that helps you to find this different information. Now, the rest would be practical. Go and work.
Hands-on skills.
You learn from that experience.
Yeah,
I would do that.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. But going back to the conditioning part of things, is like, obviously we consume information and we learn those things from those books. And it's because earlier on, when you start school, that's when you begin to understand, after you've been exposed to all this information that is academic, then you begin to understand, okay, where do I want to go in regards to this information they've given me? You study history, geography, languages and all these things. So you then think, do you want to be a writer because the language is so interesting? Do you want to go into geography and specialize in understanding how these all things work? Or do you want to be a doctor? Do you understand? So it's kind of influences where you are going, the direction.
The future.
Yeah, so it's kind of conditioning once again. Because if you had the power to yourself, or imagine somebody who didn't really attend school, or they were homeschooled, and they know math and English, how they would be in relation to all these academic subjects. And by the way, so something that I wanted to ask, you know how we're in school, yeah? And all these smart people, boys and girls who are number one position in the class, and you come out of school, go into the world, and you look back and think, okay, these people are supposed to be number one in the journey to success, whatever that is. But realize they are doing some funny funny jobs, or their life is a bit stuck somewhere. Yeah. And so it was all about academic smartness. Yes. What happened to life smartness?
That's why I keep defining education. From my perspective, I say that education is learning from somebody who has a skill for a long time. As they educate you, they keep training you.
Well, wouldn't that be practical? Okay, if you are good in IT, and then I have a 10-year-old, and they're like, okay, let the person come and the child come and shadow you, so that they can learn from you.
Because you see why I say that statement. I think it's deep in a way that when you go to school, we have a trainer. We learn from the teacher. He's the trainer. Sometimes we learn from our friends because they're also training us things they have understood in class. When you come back to the village, or your place, or home, you learn from someone.
From home.
There are two learnings. I would think that there is observatory learning. You observe somebody doing something, and then you copy and you do it. Or somebody intentionally trains you how to do it. You be there, you be with them in a session, do this, this is the outcome. But going back, okay, I'm trying to deconstruct that. You have to go back to also what you want. Like, what you want, what are your desires, and what you want to achieve in life as a person. It's very good to study with a purpose. But you find that in our schools, the purpose is theirs.
It's for you to pass the exams, yes, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's for the school, and it's set by the administrator.
Oh my God, I like that. I didn't even see that. I thought it was you to be like, you're reading so hard, you're very smart, and now you're the first student in all subjects.
You understand? So for them, they have a goal of being the best in Uganda.
So they're achieving it through you.
They want to have very many first grades. That is the purpose. And now this one has been pushed down the throats of every student. You are going to embarrass our school. You have to pass chemistry. So at the end of the day, you do not know what you want. You know what they want. And that's what you work towards achieving.
Yeah.
So going back, for me, it would be very good if somebody set goals, starting from the family. Like we said, the family influences. You sit down with your kids and you'll be like, you know what? What are some of the problems that we have? How do we want to achieve them? You give somebody a sense of purpose. Because for me, I know purpose is not absolute. It's personal. Everybody has something they want to do. So you ask them, and I even understand that teaching somebody is like a bulb put in darkness where there is a road taking you to success. To just light where you're going.
A little bit.
But they shouldn't be the ones to, I'm the one taking you there. No. I think that should be training. Somebody comes and tells you, you know what? You have a lot of things you know, even if you don't understand. But when I did A, B, C, D, these are some of the advantages I got. These are the effects. You look at them and you make a proper decision. So the point is proper decision making.
Okay, I hear you. Something that I didn't really pay much attention to that you just pointed out is the role of a school teachings in your life, basically to make sure they get number one position in the country, having you study all these things, but where is your interest in studying all these things?
Literally don't have any.
You understand? This is what I mean. It's so fun and it's so interesting.
Yes, you don't
Because
have
that
any.
influence, at the end of it, will be like, oh, I did O level or whatever, high school, and I did all these subjects. Maybe I should have done those other subjects because that's what I wanted.
Yes.
But the teachers said my strength was in this direction.
Mm.
And then
You see, I sounded crazy sometime. I was at the campus. I was like, I want to be an artist, a singer, musician. But at the same time, I want to do software engineering. And I was very crazy. I looked to them as, because for me, I understand there is science of creating. And by the way, art is so beautiful that when you before you create something, you need to first study the problem around, and then you create something. But that's what we do in science. In science, we build models that ease life, that solve problems. So you understand the problem, you gather some information, you build a solution to that problem. It's the same thing they do in art. You go and understand how people feel in community, and then you understand that people are poor. You construct a song. You bring it to touch the pain points of people, and everybody who listens to it, they feel spiritual.
They can relate to the lyrics.
They can relate. You understand? They get emotion, and you're so good. You solve the problem.
Yeah.
You understand? So I think these are the same things. They're just named differently, nomenclature.
Yeah. But then I think we definitely have to have a conversation regarding all these things that not really looking to encourage our talents and our abilities to support that, as opposed to what makes them shine. Okay. Coming back to what we were talking about is now you mentioned in our previous podcast when we sat down to have a conversation that regarding to the entertainment industry, the movies, media, and all that, how it does play a role in conditioning us. Now that we are in the topic of conditioning, can you dive deeper into that?
Yes, I think it's very interesting. It's actually the reason as to why the world is changing so fast is because of these creative pieces that have been put out in form of video, audio, text, books, articles, and everything. So let me give you a scenario. Somebody goes there and thinks about a story. Movies used to be that you experience some life situation and then you document it, and then they act a movie out of it using different characters, and then somebody learns from that. It has changed to be business oriented these days. Why? Because somebody will say there is an agenda we want to drive in this movie. Why? Because there are very many people who are going to watch it. Now somebody will embed the agenda into the character. You understand? Or apart from the character, somebody will put it in the way they act. You feel like whenever you see that, it triggers your life, and you'll be like, this is something I need to think about. You understand?
Yeah.
So these narratives have been driven in books, in songs. Let me give you one. Have you seen people who are driving the narrative of religion?
Just talk more.
Now, people who drive religion narratives I've seen are let's go past that. we can proceed. But
now
my point is there.
We know more and we know better. This is why we are coming out to deconstruct. Because all these things that we thought they were really value to us, by some time we are now seeing through it that, hey, listen, this wasn't really important to me, and it wasn't in my best interest. So now I have to unpeel all these layers of things. Like you said, when we come in here, like fresh children, we are born babies and everything, and you're growing up through your family, your guardians, your education system that we go to, then you come to work, places of work and everything. So at what point do you take a minute and ask yourself, is everything I believe about myself really my own making, or was I told? All the values I hold dear to. Is there anything that I was asked? No one asked me about anything. So they just told me.
That's deep.
And I learned, yeah.
That's really deep.
So at what point, or would it not be beneficial in our lives, on our journey, at certain points to ask? I believe A faith. Was it my own making? You get, did I make a decision as an adult to go into whatever that is? Or maybe I do this job. Is it really what I wanted to do, or somebody persuaded me into doing it? Or I sort of believe in marriage. Where did the idea of me believing in marriage come from? Was it from my grandparents, from my parents, the way I saw them? Or is it something that I've not even thought about? Maybe the way I lead my life, I wouldn't want to do it. But because there was the sort of example, or the sort of something, or it's a cultural thing that I have to do, even if I don't want to do. Do you understand?
I respect the idea of questions. I believe questions carry the entire problem solving. Now, asking the right questions like that can actually deconstruct your mind. For example, just look at it. You talked about belief. I believe that belief is a doubt. Believe before you believe something. I believe he might come.
Believe.
You're not so sure about what's going to happen. It's not your truth. Now, I know that whenever you believe something, whether from somebody or about yourself, it has a very greater influence on your life than what you think currently, if you find out that what I was believing is a wrong thing. For example, I don't encourage people to unlearn. People always talk about unlearn and relearn. They do that. I believe every information is useful, but you only have to use it at the right time. Every information you learned is useful somewhere, somehow, so long as it is the right time. Now,
but some of it, there could be, I kind of disagree with that a little bit, because there's unlearning. Let's say I grew up in a domestic violence household, and I saw my mom being treated funny, or I saw my mom beating my father, or something like that. And then I take those bits with me in my own relationships when I grew up as an adult. And then when I reflect back, and maybe I'm so aggressive, I have anger issues. And when I try to step back and try to understand the genesis of this thing, and I realize, oh, maybe I may have picked up this from the environment that I grew up in. And now I ask, okay, is it useful to me? How am I treating people around me with this behavior? Or how is it even helping myself? Now, don't I need to unlearn that if it's not in a positive?
Yeah, I think it's two levels. Unlearning the action and unlearning the thought. You learned how to beat people. You can stop.
But it begins with, when you get that anger and you think, okay, today I am not going to slap this person. I'm not going to be any violence to this person.
Yes.
With your thought.
Now, thought, for example, because we are looking at three parts of the body. We are looking at the brain, the mind, and the memory. The memory, where you keep things that you learned. So, this information is going to stay there. You will just decide not to use it. For me, I even think unlearning is impossible. Unless when you get another information that counteracts this one, you can remove it. It will remain there, even though sometimes you don't remember some of the things that happened, but they are there in your memory. What happens is that when something that is similar, that looks similar, comes into your perception, you remember most of the times, because it is there in your memory. For me, my thing is, how I do it is that whatever you saw and whatever you learned, use it to create the greatest good in society.
What is good about a domestic violence situation?
Anti-
Or you say how to not go into that
Yes,
direction?
there is a stopping how to do, because you see, you're using that information to stop
To
domestic
stop the-
violence.
Okay.
Because when you find a situation that has that, you already know the effects.
Yeah.
You're already an expert, so you have a lot of information. You're going to solve a problem there. So I think it's very useful for you to know about it. Not saying that I'm going to unlearn everything about domestic violence, because now when a situation comes and you are the one under that, you don't know how to solve it. But you cannot even unlearn it.
I think you probably, like what you're saying is to find out how that thing affected you, and then how not to be it, or how to stop the effect of it later on in life.
Yes, because you know the effect.
The
like
effect,
you know the
yes,
true
it's-
feeling of domestic violence. You experience
It's a negative effect, and then you
Yes.
have to replace it with something positive.
Yes, because
at
you
the
know how
same
it
time.
affects humans.
Yeah. That's really quite interesting to see those things from that perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah,
For the actions you can unlearn.
it definitely helps with the deconstruction. So going back to
Wow, that was beautiful.
thank you. Going back to the deconstructing thing, somebody is listening to us and probably hearing about this. Okay, maybe they've watched our couple podcasts that we've done, and they're thinking, okay, what is people talking about deconstructing? Okay, and I know what I know now from what I've learned, and now I want to begin the deconstruction process. What is step number one?
Wow. That's very interesting. Again, if that was me, I would first of all look at the things that have been causing me challenges in life. I would learn all the problems. I would learn all the successes. I would learn everything about myself. So for me, I think the first step is self-awareness. Being
aware of those things.
being aware of yourself, first of all, because you see, what we see in society is influenced by how we feel, how we think, what we believe, what we perceive. You understand? So you first work on yourself before working on the environment. Now, somebody who wants to deconstruct, they have to look at things that affect them, because not everything is bad. Even though we are in a very chaotic world, some things affect us positively. Now, somebody who wants to deconstruct your mind from the slavery, you need to first study the slavery, the conditioning. How was it done? Who did to you? Through which channels was it done?
Channels.
Where did you see it? Where? That's why I was telling you.
But this is exactly what you're asking, is the programming, because
you learn the
this
programming.
whole thing. No. Like the way the programming it has its own goods and bads. Because obviously, as you're a child growing up, you don't know everything. So this will have to teach you what you need to do in life to survive as an individual. But to some extent, it comes to a point whereby it's no longer good for you. Because like you said in the previous podcast, that everyone is here to take something out of you. Everyone is telling you their information to keep you there. So you end up disempowered, and then you have to unpeel and say, hold on a minute, is it the things I listen to, the movies I watch, the environment I live in, my friends, my family? What exactly is in my best interest? And then you begin to take off those layers, whatever is not for you. If it's a movie, you stop watching it. If it's somebody that is not supporting where you're going, you stop all that. If it's beliefs that you've been holding on to, your teacher said when you were in primary school, you realize, oh, this is not helping me. Maybe it did help you while you're still in primary, but days have gone. So like you need to change it. If it's your parents, your grandparents, for example, there's a story that I heard. A grandmother used to cook chicken without legs, right? So her daughter did the same thing. The grandchild did the same thing. But one day the grandchild they could bring chicken as usual at home, but they would cut off the legs and eat the middle part. So this day, this granddaughter is asking, Mom, why do we cut off the chicken legs? We don't eat them, but when I visit my other family friends in their families, they do eat chicken legs. And mom was like, I did this thing because of my mom, her grandmother. And then when they went back to when they went to ask the grandmother why she used to cut that chicken without the legs, and she said, we were poor, and the pot we had at the time would only carry the middle. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Do you understand? So the entire time these people have been cutting off the legs of the chicken in a big pot, but they wasn't aware. So
I have a belief that for you to solve any problem, because you see, Miranda, we need to be sincere. What we want is to solve a problem that affects us directly and indirectly. That's the entire point of every podcast, every news, every government, everything, to solve some
problems.
Yeah, and that's how I believe. Now, when you look at problem solving, failure for you to understand the motive, the reason as to why people do things, can depress you.
The way they do them.
Let's talk about depression. When you fail to understand what causes you depression, to study it and the system around it, you can never be out of
it.
You can never. It doesn't matter which doctor. I'm telling you, because I've ever gone through that.
The depression thing.
Yes. But when you understand the problems, now you ask another question. Can I do something about it? There are answers you can give. If I can't do something about it, then what am I going to do? That's where people go into depression, because they think they don't have resources, they are disempowered, they can't do anything about it. But when you came and did some action and it caused some effects, and I understand exactly your motive, I understand why you did it. That's why I was telling you that there is a 5W and 1H I usually use in problem solving. I ask why, where, when, who, and how, and what. Why? Because I need to understand exactly why did this person. Because let me give you one scenario. Sometime I took a border. I was going to town, and the border guy was very rude. The way we argued, even this thing of discussing price and everything, he was very, very rude. But something came into my mind that you arguing this person, but maybe he didn't have supper.
Okay. Like he really needs some serious money.
I just cooled down.
Yeah.
After that question, I cooled down in my brain. I was like, maybe, probably. So we don't know what's happening to
what's
people's
prompting
lives.
him to do
That's
that.
why we have to put guards on ourselves and create principles for ourselves that if something is directly inflicting pain, I will not tolerate, I will not associate with such a system. Knowing exactly why, the reason why something is happening is deconstruction. That's where it begins, because you will now try to look for resources to take away this challenge, because even the conditioning and its effects are a problem in a system. So you need to build your solution by understanding
why it happened in the first place. So after understanding, then now I know. Maybe I've taken a minute and I'm examining why things are happening the way they are happening, and now I understand why they are happening. So what's the solution for me to start unprogramming?
The first point, set goals in life. This is working for me. When I set goals, I sit down and set goals, I start to work towards achieving them. Now, have a strategy for your life. Nobody should define for you. You can borrow some ideas from somewhere, but you should have a strategy for achieving these goals. And you should know that you alone can make the personal decision. The decision to act is going to be yours,
entirely
not
on you.
from anyone, but people can give you some ideas. The other thing is, you see, you cannot deconstruct using the same system. For example,
that reprogrammed you.
You understand? Look for other systems. For example, here, spiritually, find local systems and try to learn them. you're going to discover so much traditional systems of
traditions.
spirituality,
Okay.
how people tap into spirituality locally. Also learn. You can just learn, even if you don't believe, and you try to compare.
Just have an open mind.
Just have an open mind and learn, because it will prompt you to think differently, to also weigh and try to carry. The other thing is that I think you need to know exactly the position you are in the world. What are your skills? What can you do? What can't you do? Who are your friends? Do they align with your principle? Do you vibrate along? Do you have the same energies of vibration? Are they empowering you? Are they creating a positive environment around? So you understand that this whole thing goes back to understanding, self-discovery.
The most important part of them all is you sitting with yourself and begin the journey of self-discovery.
What is that?
Embarking on that, No, because everything you said is outside of you right now. Everything you've mentioned is outside of you. How about sitting down and be like, okay, who am I as a person, as an individual, and what path do I want to take in this life? How about starting a journey of growth for yourself? How about removing the beliefs that you held dear to, like the chicken belief? I used to cook chicken because my mom did it, and started cooking chicken, the whole chicken, and without cutting it off.
I also think it's the same thing. You see, when I think, like we said, we respect questions. There is a question of who is you?
Yeah, exactly. Who am I? Who is you?
Because me includes my body, my thoughts,
your mind,
my emotions,
your spirit,
my mind,
your soul,
my dreams,
all that,
and my lining.
Yeah,
where I come from. Like, you see, people think knowing themselves, it's not knowing their. You see, because when you want to know yourself and how you behave, it will push you back to knowing where you came from.
Yeah,
it goes back to the family point, whereby family influenced you to do something. So you have to know how they lived and how it affected them. So knowing about yourself has knowing about your body, everything. You need to check, you need to do this, you need to do physique, you need to understand where you want to be. Which position of the body do you want? Do you have muscles? Do you want to be thin? You need to know to be in control. Secondly, you need to choose what you perceive. What
information you consume, kind of thing. Yeah.
You will understand that if you're watching a certain TV channel and you're also watching the other one that they are against, you find that there is one that conflicting. You like more. You understand, there is conflict, and there is one that your energy goes towards. You will go to that. You can choose whatever you want. Yeah. That's the point. So that is learning about you, and when you learn about you, it will be very easy for you to learn about other people.
You learn about you because that's pretty much the thing that we all ignore, and we put our attention out there, trying to find outside things to kind of hold on to, or to blame, or to solve, or think they are stopping us or blocking our way to where we want to go. But the whole journey of this thing is we starting with you. After understanding everything that you understand now, and begin to assess, okay, where do I want to go, knowing what I know?
Do you know that people think when they have challenges in life, it's because of external sources? Somebody caused it to them. If it's bad, but if it is good,
they did it.
Sorry, I did it.
Yeah, I think it could be both. It could be according to what the situation is. It could be maybe the external factors actually contributed to that, or it could be you actually contributed to that. But my thing in this is to just look into the mirror and start with that person that you see. What does this person want? What makes this person happy? How can I build up this person, right, in the positive way? How can I shed off the things that I no longer believe in, and what did you say? That replace them with things that actually empower me. Yeah. Then outside of you going into a journey of self-discovery, personal growth, self-improvement and development, then it's going to go outside of you to your family, where you come from. Why do we do the things we do in this lineage?
And I usually give that method, 5W plus 1H.
The questioning.
Yeah, like, because if you want to question anything, you just use 5W plus 1H. It will help you to understand most of the things about any situation, whether you or any other object in the world.
Yeah, so that's a good approach.
Yeah, it will help you to
obviously asking those questions, but definitely it begins with you. And everything that we've mentioned in regards to programming, well, there's things that have been instilled in us, but at a certain point, if you feel like it's no longer working, you just have to drop it.
That is true.
If you learned how to take alcohol, for example, and then at some point you feel like, oh, maybe where I am now, it is no longer working for me, you just drop the act.
Yeah, I also take some problems, I solve them using, for example, if you have goals and you want to achieve them, you understand that you can fail to achieve.
Like you failing yourself to achieve?
No. I understand that everything has a win or a lose. You understand? So, but that's not a problem, because throughout this strategy you have set, through acting, you learn different skills.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if I want to establish a business and I establish it actually, I go there to start working. I learn, if I establish the business of matoke, I learn that when you go to Nakamanya to take some matoke on credit, she will do this. You learn the behaviors of other people in that business. So even if after some time you incur loss or this business fails, you have exactly learned how to handle customers. You've learned about the sources.
There's a skill you've picked out of that.
There's something you have learned. That's why people say that the only invalid dream is the one you never dreamt.
The only invalid dream is the one that you never dreamt. So everything you've dreamt is valid.
Yes. So dream and act. When you act, you learn. It doesn't matter whether you're successful, because you will be successful at some point. Maybe you have learned a skill. That is a success.
Yeah.
People think success is becoming too rich and having cars and land, a big house, everything. I think success is personal and it's timely. Yeah, I might set that after 1 year, I need to have this kind of physique. And then you set. When you succeed at that,
you've achieved a goal.
You understand.
Yeah.
So it's
but this is another thing to actually think about. The way you just mentioned, success is personal, because there is once again, programming, there is a benchmark, or there is societal success. So if you don't have the bigger house, you don't have the beautiful wife and 5 children, if you don't have those wonderful cars and the business, you are looked up like you're really... You are looked up like, hey, you still have a long way to go.
Because you see, you can look at me, you can say any shit about me.
But this is you.
Yes.
This is you. We're talking about a regular person who believes what society determines as success.
I think they should watch this podcast. This is the first thing I want to say about that. You see, if you're there and you're stranded about getting happiness because of how people perceive you, this is the right place. Because the truth is that whether people see you the way you want to be seen, or they see you the way they want to be seen, when you go back on your bed and sit, you are alone.
You're alone.
If you don't have food, you're going to spend
the
night.
This is the pressure. Hey, you don't know how societal pressure and peer pressure lead us to do weird things.
If it's not coercion.
You talk about the conformity and the narrative and the programming of posting something, and because it's not liked, then you have to go and look for what is liked, even if sometimes it's not in your you don't really believe in it. That's so beautiful. Much, but because you want to get some sort of approval.
I've seen it on X and other social media platforms, Facebook and everywhere. I've seen that somebody starts to post what they believe in because they have a principle. I post this because I want people to perceive me like this. But because there is an influence of monetization, money came into X, and everybody was like, shitty posting brings about money. So you have to post something that people will like more or engage
As
more
opposed to what
what
you believe in.
But now let's get this. What do you want from joining social media?
It comes back to a journey of self-discovery and
Yes.
understanding, because hey, you, Tomusange, may be grounded in who you are, and any outside influence has no ground on
Too
you.
good.
Some other person, the outside influence reigns in their life. You understand?
Hey, that's
So
what I'm
it's
telling
easily
you.
they're going to be easily taken by all these benchmarks, standards that somebody said are the standards, and then they believe in that. So that thing is going to influence obviously the way they
Yes,
see
and there are very
things.
many. You're not even. You see, there are very many people who are influenced by peer pressure and the society that pressures them into thinking
It's
they are
heavy.
not
It's
enough.
heavy, and sometimes you don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
You just go by the majority and
Let
by
me
the
ask them a
flow.
question. The question I want to ask them is one: what do you want as a person?
That question
What
the
do
person
you-
has to ask themselves.
Yes, I'm asking now them. What do you want as a person? What do you want to achieve in your life? Where do you want to be after some time? Where do you wish to go? What do you want to achieve? How do you define your success? Who are some of the friends that you have to have? And when you answer such questions, you will find that they are very small things that really bother you. Because the problem is that we don't ask the relevant
That's the
questions.
yeah.
We don't. And we fear, because you see, when you ask them, you're going to act, and people fear. So they are trapped into that feeling. It is very
Because
dangerous.
that pressure is really huge. I'm kind of sorry to digress for a minute. You know how our culture here, with the thing of marriage and introduction and finding somebody and all this thing, is kind of a thing in Uganda. So every girl is dying to find a man who's going to marry them, and every man is dying to find a girl they are going to marry, and then they put on a show. You get? Must we do that? Do these people do it out of love, genuinely, or just because of the pressure that they think society brings on them, or families once again bring on them? The conditioning.
You've actually brought
goes back to
something
the
very
thing.
interesting, because you know why it's very interesting is because I remember we've been pushed by our cultures to do some things, and we think, by the way, this is what we believe, because we have been affected by colonialism and slavery and everything. You understand? We somehow believe everything in our culture is right.
We don't question it, do we?
Yes. Have you seen a majority group? They think they are so okay. They don't have any problem because they are minority. You understand? So for some reason we think our culture is perfect. Yet everything has to evolve. Even our culture, even our culture has to evolve, because you cannot tell me that going to the component of culture called fashion, we are supposed to put on
all those glittering.
Yeah, you understand, or skin height and everything. You understand? So it has to be there has to be a point of evolution, flexibility in our thinking, and we have to develop. The development I mean is changing how we do things to solve current problems. That's the development I'm talking about. Yeah. So the pressure you talked about sometimes can overwhelm us, and it can really push us into doing, like you said, about that.
But going back to the deconstructing thing,
yes,
how is this supposed to be your problem?
It's not even your problem. It's not even your problem.
Why do you feel the pressure in the first place?
Until the pressure comes from such things. Like, for example, I remember in my village, they could disown you.
Because you have not married?
Because you have not married and you have refused. They will labor to find for you a man. They go to the other home, they go to another one to propose, to make sure that their daughter gets what? A man.
That is
so when you refuse,
deep.
They disown you.
It's really
you understand?
Deep.
Sometimes it is like that, but the world has changed.
Yeah.
And I believe,
I mean, people should be led to do people what people want. Like, if you think the thing is not,
because we also need rules and regulations.
Yeah, we do, but not in violation of things that you, for example, that what you just mentioned. Just because, so who puts expiry date on marriage? Why are you pushing me to do this thing when I'm not yet ready?
Yeah.
Give me time.
I feel
and
that.
and by the way, when you push me and I do it, it's not you, the family people, that are going to be in this thing. It's me and the person you've chose.
Yes.
But the grounds you are laying for us is too funny. Allow us to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the conditioning and the deconditioning of all these things is, once again, like you mentioned, you just have to sit down and ask all those questions. If things are no longer helping you, if things are no longer beneficial to you, if things don't work in your best interest, you find a middle ground. You might discard everything that is not serving you, and then you also find a middle ground. What can you pick up that you can move forward with?
Usually, if I want to drop something, or a behavior, if it's a thought or something, or action, if I want to drop it, these are some of the criteria I use. I look at the motive. I look at the reason as to why I'm doing this. So if that reason is to hurt society, I don't do it. Secondly, did you have a question?
I'm wondering, why would you hurt society? Like, if somebody wanted to, let's say for the example of marriage, that you are 25, your family is organizing for you to marry this woman, and you're not really into it. So do you think that you not doing it will hurt society?
Where do you think people created COVID?
Okay, let's not go into that. Please, let's come back. We are here, okay?
So, but have you gotten my point? You understand? So, I'll leave that at that, and I will say that, you see, I look at the motive, why people do the things they do, and why I do the things I do. If they are creating more negative impact in society and on myself, I don't do it. Secondly, I look at the results. And that is how you look at people's experience, and you see how they have been able to impact society negatively or positively. So when I look at the results, I be like, when I look at the motive and the impacts, I'll never do that.
Okay.
But now the questions are, you go back to the 5W, are these results useful to me? Are they useful to the society? Are they creating a greater good
for everyone?
Myself?
For everyone, for yourself?
Yes. You understand? So by asking those questions, it will be very easy for you to make decisions. Because the truth is that when we go to study, we're just polished. We know everything. We know because we experience, and everybody knows what they go through. They know. They even know how to run away from such a situation that affects them. They know. You want to tell me that people don't know how to come out of poverty?
People who don't have the knowledge, and maybe don't have the skill, and maybe don't have the resources to help them do.
Because you see, why they know is because the problem affects them. And what happens when the problem affects you directly?
But you understand, we are not on the same levels of understanding, yeah? Maybe that person is in that situation, and they don't have enough information to allow themselves to come out of it, or the enough skill or the resource to allow themselves to come out of it.
This is what I'm saying. I'm saying you experience the problem.
I experience the poverty, yeah.
When you experience that problem, there is a natural urge that is developed within you to solve that problem. So when you develop that urge, you look for information. It is a different point if you cannot find that information. It is another point if you can find and refuse. It's another point if you can combine together and solve that problem.
But I don't think anyone that is in that place, that position, want to come out of it, and they're yearning to, and they deliberately choose to not. Because if it's sort of a bad kind of situation, environment to be, maybe they're lacking things here and there.
Active ignorance.
And then it is, yes, it is, but I don't know, because I'm thinking about somebody who does not have, let's say, they don't have money to buy food.
Yeah.
And maybe they're looking for work, and maybe they get not so much work is available. And I'm trying to understand, how can they choose to be in that situation deliberately?
There are some external factors, of course, but that can be timely.
I want to eat today.
Because
Give me a
today,
work. Give me a
yes,
job so I can
and
buy
that,
myself food.
that is not. Now, like you remember when we said locus of control, there are things you have control over, and there are things you don't have control over.
Mm.
For example, somebody can deny you something intentionally, which you don't have in your access.
Yeah.
You cannot access. That is a different thing. But living life is personal. Somebody cannot enslave you for all your life. Is that possible?
It is possible.
How?
It is possible. I don't want us to come off so much of the topic, but
You understand? So for me, I think we need to. You see, we are 8 billion people. There are people who care. You see, when you live in a society where people don't care, whether about your product, whether about your services or something, there are people who will care because they have the same vibration as you are. And there is also natural vibration whereby you find things you want just like that. Yes, you find something that you wanted so badly for the previous years. And going back to my point that your decision making is entirely yours and your life is about you. Yes, that's where I draw it from.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us this evening for this conversation. I have really learned a lot from you, and I'm sure the viewers have as well. I would like to hear your opinions. You guys that do follow us, please comment, share your journeys, share how you are deconstructing all the programming. We would also want to learn from you. And Tomusange, if there's anything else you'd love to say to our viewers, please go on before we conclude.
Thank you. I want to thank you for watching this. And I also want you to think about it deeply and find out solutions for your life because it's very urgent. We need to work together, all work individually to find problems and also to solve problems in our society and in our lives. Thank you.
Okay, we'll put his social handles on our description. And once again, thank you so much, guys, for watching. And we shall see you in our next podcast. Thank you.